have a quite exciting session starting right now. It will be YC Office Hours. Yes, it's going to be hands-on advice by Emmett Shear, who's the co-founder and CEO of Twitch. He's also part-time partner of YC and an angel investor who invested more into 40 companies. We're very happy to have him here, and with him on stage will be 3 startups that have a discussion with him, present what they do, and it's going to be guided conversation to give them advice on how to maybe solve some of their sticking points. Good. So without further ado, please welcome on stage, with a warm applause, Emmett Shear.
Thank you. All right.
All right, so are you ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, so we have the first startup already excited backstage. It's called NG Technologies. And the founders are Peter and Thomas. One is from London, one is from Prague. So please welcome on stage Peter and Thomas from NG Technologies.
Hey, guys.
Hey. Hey, how are you?
Good. So what do you guys do?
So we created automated home protection solution, which is combining smart hardware, cloud intelligence, and services, and generated 600,000 on a Kickstarter, and just launching into the US market.
OK, so it's like it's a hardware security thing.
It's actually a cloud-based security thing, which is having hardware component.
I see. So when I buy it, do I need to buy? Is the hardware component necessary, or can I just use the digital software part of it?
So right now you need the hardware platform, which can be seen somewhere actually on the screen, in order to have all the sensors and ability to interact with that.
Got it. And why is it better than whatever else I would buy instead?
Well, actually, it is 3 factors why it's better. One, focus on privacy and data protection, because these solutions are very invasive. If you take it to home, you want to be sure that whatever data it's actually processed, it's your data. No one can watch it, no one can misuse it. So that's one angle. Second, we develop complete IoT platform effectively, which allows us quick innovation, so adding functionality on the go, reacting to the environment. And then the third piece is ease of use. So right now we're using mobile device, your mobile device which you have, for identifying when you came, when you left, to automatically arm, disarm, switch through privacy mode. So you don't have to do anything. Because you might not know, but actually traditional home security systems, in 42% cases, when there's a burglary in US, they off. So completely useless.
And so what do people buy today instead of this? Like traditional security systems, or? That's
a great question. 75% of US households, nothing. They don't use nothing. And that's actually our market. That's what we're going after with the simplicity.
Why not go after the 25% of people who want to spend money on security systems already?
Various solutions. Some actually are signing contracts with like ADTs in US, which is a couple of hundreds a month. An installation. Some are buying new solutions from Nest or Canary, which are our competitors. Some are buying actually cheap cameras.
The normal thing that happens is when you go after a new segment like this, you really want the people who are most excited to buy it. It's like if you went and talked to your Kickstarter people, would they mostly be people who have never bought any security thing before, or are they mostly people who have already spent money?
That's a great question. Usually it's people who really fall in love with the using the progressive technology. So we found out that there's a lot of people who want us to innovate quickly. Actually, we have already delivered to 300 customers that we've had on Kickstarter. And it's one of the most fascinating things that I've experienced, because we receive a lot of great feedback that validates some of our hypotheses and strengthens our roadmap to the future.
So you went through the Kickstarter. You had a bunch of people sign up. Those people who signed up to pay money for yep. the thing that does not yet exist, which is always great. That's the best part about Kickstarter. How are they just sort of are they gadget fans? Is that the primary user?
Yes, I think that we are right now, as we are stepping into the market, or as we will be stepping into the market, we'll really be figuring out what the customer market fit is. That's one of the most exciting parts as well. Obviously, there's some overlap with our Kickstarter backers as well. But as you say, it's the early adopters. So it's probably not
I would say
our
right
main
now,
market.
Yeah, right now we are actually in the situation transitioning from a Kickstarter, which is totally different audience, to the mass market. We identified 5 micro segments, which we believe are right users for NG, which is apartment condo dwellers, secondary homeowners, elderly living alone, and so on and so forth. So the real kind of the market is different than what Kickstarter is.
So the Kickstarter people are like gadget fans because that's who's on Kickstarter.
New technology fan, yeah.
But you're gonna go after the broader group. Okay. Why not just pick one of those segments? Why going after all 5?
Great question. Actually, we will be going after one of those segments, but right now we're not sure which one is the best one, and we need to get a bit more data and see, which one is actually reacting best.
How did you guys get the idea to do this in the first place? Where was the genesis of like, I want to go build a security hardware solution?
The short story? Well, there's really no short story, but in 2014, on January 14th, Google bought a company called Nest. Me and the other co-founder, we had an idea we are software entrepreneurs, so but at the same time, we really wanted to build a beautiful physical product because it's easier to build relationship with it, and at the same time, solve a real problem. We didn't know back then what the problem is going to be, but we soon found out that this is a huge problem. The security solutions that were back then available were inappropriate, so we decided to take that challenge.
Got it. And if you had a prototypical customer, what are like the 2 or 3 most important customer needs that you're trying to address?
I would say one is ease of use, really. So that means I install it in 3 minutes, which actually is how long it takes to install NG, and that's all what I have to do. And the rest, actually, NG is taken care of. So that's definitely one. Second, beautiful form factor. It definitely plays a role. And 70% of household purchase decisions are influenced by female in the household.
So when I say customer need, the thing I'm usually trying to get at is, I'll give you an example from Amazon, actually. I think it's one of the clearest ones. Amazon has 3 customer needs that it thinks are the most important for its customers. Price, cheapest stuff possible, selection, the most stuff possible, and convenience. Ships fast, easy to order, easy to cancel. And that's not about the technology or like how you use Amazon. There's a bunch of things to enable that. It's about sort of these fundamental user needs. And so I do think that ease of use is super important. If you don't have good ease of use, that's like a barrier to entry. Same thing with if your device is ugly, no one wants it in their home. That's like a big problem. But what's the value that you guys deliver that's like the most important thing people get out of it?
I think what we are trying to achieve and what most of our consumers resonate with is a system that protects their household, their family, without distracting them, because most of these systems, they cause lots of false alarms, and which is one of the reasons why people usually turn them off and they become very ineffective. So we try to understand different scenarios that we can reliably detect rare emergencies from situations that are common for the household. So that's part of the protection that they really are looking for without the distraction.
That makes sense. So what's your distribution plan? How are you going to get this into people's hands?
It's actually a great question, because our, I would say, original distribution plan was going through a retail, direct, digital marketing, and all kind of the mix of the channels without having the prediction which one will work. But after recent discussion with some very clever people, we actually looking into maybe going into much actually better disruption, because what we believe at the end how this will end up is not selling products, but actually subscription base. No upfront payments. It's just you pay for the service. So we can call Netflix model, and we believe that's actually, if I can use the slide which I like, that's what we believe actually we should go after, to actually become the company which is completely reversing the model.
So the idea is that you'd ship me the hardware for free if I signed up. It's like a cell phone plan.
Exactly.
I get the free security hardware. That's interesting. Has anyone else done that in the market before with security?
No, really. Actually, interestingly enough, there are some countries where some companies are already doing that, and quite successfully. Not in the US. One of our competitors, what they're doing is installments, but it's not the same thing. Because there is a difference if I say, well, I pay $15 per month, and if I decide I don't want that service anymore, I can cancel immediately. That's a completely different proposition.
OK, great. I think I understand the core of the product now. Sorry, so most of the time I'm just trying to learn, because actually that's what I find is the most important thing is having that context. What's your biggest problem today? Like, what's the biggest challenge? Why aren't you selling 10 times as many units? What stands in the way of growth?
Yeah, raising the capital. It's really that. And that's because, a lot of investors are looking at the market. OK, it's a crowded market. That's true. But there's a reason why the market is crowded, because it's extremely big, growing very fast, and extremely interesting. That's why many companies are going there. Of course, it's hard to recognize the winner, and that's the challenge.
If you had unlimited capital, what would be your next biggest challenge?
Building actually the engineering team fast. That's probably will be the biggest challenge, I guess.
What would you have that engineering team go? I'm looking for not the execution things that have to happen, because I agree with you. Yeah, the biggest challenge for every company is hiring great people, motivating them, and getting stuff done. Like, raising the capital to enable all of that. But like, I'm looking for one layer down from that. What is it that that you'd have the engineers go build that's missing from the product today that would be critical to being able to, to grow?
We very much believe in integrations. We believe that actually one way to forward is integrate with various services which you're already using. That's why we're using mobile device as the way to identify yourself, because you have it already. I mean, we have kind of the product principles, and one of them is no new interfaces. And the integration with the other services, including services like Dropbox and others, is what we see the key. So that means it blends into your digital life effectively.
Interesting. And so is that just a matter of having sufficient engineering bandwidth to go build all those integrations? Or like what stands in the way of having those online?
I think it's two aspects. One is sufficient engineering resources. Second, which are the right ones. So it means being able to properly assess what is really the customer demand, and therefore what makes sense to build and what is not.
One thing that I think is very interesting, I don't know if you've talked to customers and done this, but if you go talk to people who've bought security systems and ask them how do they choose which security system, like, have you guys had that conversation? How did you choose your security system?
That is really interesting because people have different perspectives. Some people say price, but not that many. Surprisingly, we found out that people are willing to pay a higher price if they believe that their household and family are going to be really protected.
I mean, like, so actually, there's a YouTube video I put out that's about this topic, so I'll do a pitch for some of my own material. It's like how to conduct a user interview. But I recommend it because I think it like gets you to it's a much longer version than what I can do right here of how to go do extract this information from a user.
Why?
But the idea is I would be really curious if I were you guys, based on what I've heard so far, I would be super curious about how people's process for buying security systems today works. Like, usually, how do they evaluate competitors? Where do they find out about it? What point in their life do they decide, oh my God, I have to buy a security system?
Yeah, usually it's when they have, for example, a kid. Usually it's a woman who wants their home to be protected, but then she doesn't understand it most of the time. So she goes to a man to select and go through technical specs, which is something that we're really trying to eliminate because we don't believe that such products should be bought on the basis of features. We want to make the user value proposition so easy for the people to be able to buy it out of first sight. Well,
I don't know if I have any spectacularly brilliant advice for you, but it sounds like you guys are building something people would really want. So good luck, and I hope you guys raise the capital you need to go build it and launch it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was a real pleasure.
Thank you very much. Give it up for Peter and Thomas.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I'll take that. All right, ready for one more?
Yeah, let's do it.
Good. All right, our next startup is based actually here in Vienna. It's Robo Wunderkind. Some of you might know them. They have some fans here. So please welcome on stage Yuri and Anna.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey. Nice meeting you.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Tell me about this starter kit for building robots.
So Robo Wunderkind is Lego for robotics. We want to give kids as young as 5 years old an opportunity to create their own robots and program them in our apps.
Nice. And I should think of it kind of like, it's like a game or a toy. It's an educational, is it positioned more as like this is educational or more as this is fun?
So it's spot on like the biggest question we have right now. So we started working on this product thinking that it's a great toy, and then we noticed that actually like the strongest interest from the market, like push from the market, is coming from educators and schools. And now we are facing the challenge whether we should make an effort to convince parents that it's a great toy with learning effect, or just go after schools who have already the pressure to use such type of products.
Do you enjoy enterprise sales?
Sorry?
Do you enjoy enterprise sales? Do you like selling to big companies or which big organizations, or do you want to build a consumer product?
Yeah, so it's a totally different type of challenge. So currently we actually have more partners who sell to schools, so it's enterprise schools. We're launching on Amazon this summer, and it would be our actually the challenge to
I personally hate enterprise sales. Yeah. I don't think I would ever do an enterprise sales-driven company because it just sounds awful to me, like having to do that work. I'd much rather build a consumer product, but I think that's a personal choice thing. And obviously, there are many very successful enterprise companies.
Okay, but it's scary to build consumer electronics, like hardware consumer product. It is scary.
Yeah, especially with hardware, because you have to get so much money to go build it, and if something goes wrong, you carry all this inventory risk. It's much worse than software.
Yeah.
Is there any way you guys could get out of the hardware side of it and convince third parties to build all your hardware for you?
That's actually one of the ideas we have, because there is a need to learn robotics and programming at different age groups, and we could, with the same hardware, we can build a product for universities, even for people who would like to try it out, like what does it mean to build and program something like all the age categories. So it's one of the options we face.
Well, I was just thinking, because I looked at this box, and it seems like you have these little blocks that make up the robot. Like, what if you guys didn't sell all the blocks? What if, instead of having to build all the hardware yourselves, you convinced other people to? I guess you'd have to have a big enough platform for that in the future to be able to get there.
Yeah, but actually, the platform we created, it's quite easy to expand. It just, the question is whether to expand on hardware part or expand on software and keep producing more apps. And so.
So people who buy this, it's mostly, I presume, parents buying for children, since it's in the 6+ age category. They're finding it right now. Are you in stores yet?
No, yeah, so we just launched. So now we have 2,000 users. We are launching on Amazon in summer. And we're starting to work with distributors, so from this school year.
OK, great. So the people who bought it, do they like it? What are the reviews like? I don't know if you don't have official reviews, maybe, but.
No, actually, the feedback was great. One of the feedbacks were we need to work more. People asking for more ideas of what they can do with the robots, and that's actually potential how we could develop a subscription model to produce more ideas.
Do people,
for that?
When you buy it, are there lots of kits? Is it like Legos, where I'm expected to just keep buying set after set after set?
Yes, but at the moment. Yeah, it's another question we wanted to ask you, because we are discussing whether we need to set the entry level as low as possible. So just cut a lot of functions. I have an entry point at $149, or stay as we are with $249 and expand from there. I mean,
a pattern you see over and over again with toys that make lots of money, like Legos, that makes lots and lots of money. And this reminds me a lot of Legos when I see it, right? It's basically a little system. The stuff is probably very cheap when it's produced at scale, and you kind of want lots of, there's a sort of theoretically infinite demand for little pieces to put together. If I were you guys, I would be trying to sell lots of little sets forever, and themes. You want pirates. You want, right? This looks like Duplos, but you can imagine.
So that was actually one of our ideas. So right now, we dividing our products based on price or based on complexity of kits. So we have starter kit, advanced and professional, and they have a different amount of modules. But lately, we figure out that it's not actually the best model. So I think better for us would be to offer the cheap entry point, would contain all the basic components, and then we can sell expansion packs or something like that, based on themes. Like
space travel extension.
Yeah, I mean, the very successful toys, collectibles is always a really strong model, right? If you can get people to want to collect more and more from the set. then kids can ask for it every Christmas. They can get another set for their growing collection. So what's your biggest challenge today getting this into the market?
Yeah, I think like the biggest challenge, as I said, is like what to concentrate on. And if we decide to go for consumer market, actually we would need to develop, like, to revise the product concept. And the second challenge is how to convince investors to invest in hardware startup.
OK, so if this is my opinion, because based on having seen a bunch of startups through YC, the consumer route is harder. It's harder to conceptualize how it gets really big because it's you have to do all this work. You have to acquire your customers one by one. You have to learn how to do like marketing and branding and what are my product lines. Whereas the enterprise thing seems simple from a product perspective. Like you get to sell the same thing to every school. They do big orders all at once. It's much easier for a hardware company. The problem is that the companies that try to go down the selling to schools route wind up stuck in this. It takes year-long sales cycles, and the iteration process isn't very fast, and how good your product is isn't really the determining factor as to who wins. It's like who has the better sales team. So it depends on, if you guys think you're the best school sales team out there, then I'd go the school route. But if you think you've built the best product, and you have the best product for kids building robots, I would just try to sell it to parents, and kids. So I don't know. In my personal opinion, I would go the consumer route. But I also just personally hate enterprise sales.
Do you have kids?
I don't. I hope to. I've had a lot of little nieces, nephews, godchildren.
So would you buy it as a present for them?
Oh, yeah, totally. That seems like it's exactly the kind of thing that I think I would want. I love the idea of encouraging kids to like play with robots and like learn how to do basic programming and like think about logically about how to put things together. I think on the capital raising side, your second biggest challenge, you're right that hardware startups in particular have real issues raising capital. I think that was brought up in the last startup that was up here also had that exact same problem as a hardware startup. The most successful thing for that seems to be Kickstarter. Like the thing that seems to have really allowed hardware startups to become successful, like even if they aren't ultimately whether they are ultimately multi-billion-dollar companies or not, the thing that gets hardware startups off the ground is usually running a really successful Kickstarter campaign to get capital. The YC companies that I've seen do this well run a big Kickstarter and then also raise a bunch of use the Kickstarter to raise money because they now have validated demand that people are willing to pay money for something that doesn't exist. And if I were you guys, that's the route I would go down because I just don't. Otherwise, it's very hard to convince a venture capitalist to underwrite all the hardware and then all the enterprise risk on top of it. From parents, do you get a lot of requests to buy another copy?
Yeah, actually, like from existing customers, like we're now, we're getting an extension kit in June, and we have customers asking for it, and kids also, which is a great feedback.
That's a really good sign. What do you think the percentage of people who are rebuying is, or who would rebuy?
Like 30% so far.
Oh, that's very good.
Fingers crossed.
Have you talked to the people have you gone out and just gone back to the people who bought it, both in the would rebuy and wouldn't rebuy groups, and try to figure out what the difference is?
Yeah, the difference is that like there are parents who like to spend also time with their kids, and they would literally like come up with ideas what they want to build. So it's a common playtime. And then there are parents who prefer to give it to the child and just let him play it. And so sometimes it doesn't work that well. So like what we are working on right now to develop in the app more ideas, like to encourage kids to keep playing. Yeah.
The other thing I would consider for that, for the parents who want more of a turnkey solution, and maybe you've already thought of this, but like let them spend money on more kit. Like if each kit was a thing you could build, that's just what Lego does, right? Yeah. In theory, you can recombine Legos to go build whatever you want. In practice, a lot of the time, parents buy kits for their kids. The kid builds the kit once, and that's the whole process, which is actually really lucrative for Lego, although not necessarily great for teaching imagination. But I don't know. Have you guys considered that? Have you looked at creating specialty purpose kits?
Yeah, as Yuri mentioned, like we want to have like this space travel kit, like light dispo kit, and so on. So like that would be one of the ideas.
That seems very exciting. Have you run a Kickstarter or something?
We did a Kickstarter, but actually we're gonna run the second Kickstarter this autumn.
And how ambitious is this new Kickstarter? Like, what's the scope of what you're promising?
Yes, we want to develop exactly like this theme sets to give more ideas for kids, like what they can build around the robot. So like to expand like the universe of Robo Wunderkind. That's the ambition now.
And how are you figuring out which new kits to go build? Like where there's demand?
Feedbacks. So we do run tests with kids and actually observe them, because that's the best like way to get feedback, just to see how they play and what kind of stories they come up with.
That's really exciting. What do you think your biggest challenge post raising money will be?
Actually, to come because it's if we go for this expanding the universe of Robo Wunderkind, it's quite intense in for product team. So we need a strong product team who would keep innovating, and so it is a different challenge compared to building a strong sales team, which would just keep selling to schools the same type of product.
You also see some people who do both. It's possible you fund the consumer side of the business by selling to schools. But if you think about the playing toys that have gotten really big, it's things like Minecraft, where it really did go direct to consumer, right? So if you want to aim really high, it seems like that's where you have to go. It's really exciting. It seems like a really cool product. Is it available in stores yet? Like it's going to be on Amazon?
So on Amazon very soon.
That's really exciting.
So where do you buy presents for your nephews and nieces?
I usually either do it in toy stores, because I just go into a toy store and sort of see what's there, which is also, I realize, a little bit old-fashioned. But and then people make recommended lists of top 10 toys for kids, because I don't play with them myself, so I rely on other people to make the recommendations. I think from a marketing perspective, you guys have to you need to get into those here are the top 10 toys to, for kids this year.
2018.
Yeah,
cool.
Totally.
Cool.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Great.
It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Hey, can I get one of those? How is it? Still up for one more?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, good. This one also is from Vienna, Austria. So let's start up. It's called Reverb. And please welcome Peter on stage.
Hey.
Hello.
Peter, hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So tell me, what do you guys do?
We are a marketplace for refurbished electronics. So these are used phones, laptops, and tablets. They're completely renewed, and then they look like new again. As a customer, you save up to 40%. You get at least 1 year of warranty, and the products are super sustainable. And we built a marketplace for that.
And how is it different from existing marketplaces like, I don't know, Gazelle or other people who buy and sell used electronics?
So first of all, we only work B2C. So we only have curated amounts of merchants, and we test those merchants and accredit those merchants that they're allowed to sell on our products. So that way we make sure that the quality of the products is absolutely great. And also each merchant has to give at least 1 year of warranty. So as a customer, you're absolutely risk-free.
And so when I buy through your platform, it's more like eBay than Amazon, in the sense that I'm connecting directly with a seller and buying from them, as opposed to you guys doing the buying and doing the selling.
Exactly. It's like an eBay model, but it's much more curated, and we are much bigger brand in the sense of a user thinks he buys at Reverb, he buys the Reverbed way, and this is what makes us very different and very unique in that sense.
I see. So when I go in to select a new phone, I want to buy a phone through you guys. Is it very salient to me? Is it very important to me as I'm shopping who's selling, or am I just saying, oh, I want an Android, I want a Pixel 2, show me the list of all those Pixel 2s available?
So basically we do a few things differently than everybody else. First of all, from a customer point of view, you always have to know where the product is coming from legally, but it seems like you buy from Reverb. So we don't have a list of 70 different sellers. We just have one offer.
So I buy Pixel 2, that costs X dollars, X euros.
And sold by XY, but nobody cares about the XY part. And we aggregate all the offers we have onto one listing.
Interesting. OK, and so who's the primary customer? Who's who's more important, the buyers or the sellers? What's harder for you guys to get more of?
The buyer. We have a very good network for the sellers. That's all covered. But of course, building your brand and doing the marketing and making refurbished products well known is actually quite hard, because in Europe, these products aren't well known. In the US, everybody knows what it is, but in Europe, it doesn't really exist.
Who are the sellers typically?
So these are very professional companies, have between 5 and 100 employees, and they're very specific and very specialized on a specific product. For example, only iPhones. So it's not this crappy phone shop on the corner. It's actually big companies.
They do all the sourcing of
exactly.
acquiring phones and refurbishing them and listing them on the platform.
Exactly. We have no operations whatsoever.
Got it. And what kind of volume are you guys doing right now? Like how many phones per month, or how many devices per month?
So last month we sold 1,500 products, but we only started a year ago, and in this year we actually grew by 100 times.
Awesome. And so where do customers find out about you from? Like how do you acquire customers?
So we have basically two different strategies. The one is focused on performance marketing, where we get people who are already deep in the funnel, they know what they want to buy, and then we tell them, hey, it's much cheaper, it's more environmentally friendly, go to us. And the other way is, of course, building a brand in specific target groups through Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and so.
What kind of devices are most popular?
iPhones, Samsung phones, but also laptops, tablets. Eventually, we sell everything that is electronic, also consoles and cameras.
But it sounds like phones are the unsurprisingly the most common item.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And on the what blocks you from just spending like a lot more money on performance advertising? Is it like ROI positive for you yet?
Yeah. So we are positive with the first purchase already.
So why not just pump way more money through that funnel? What's holding you back from spending even more on acquiring customers?
A bit more working capital, and then if we get that, then we just can increase that as well. But of course, it's a marketplace, so you need to balance both sides.
Right.
But we're growing extremely fast already, so that's working.
It sounds like, though, acquiring more supply at this point anyways isn't the major problem. It's like...
No. Exactly, getting more people to buy the products.
Yeah. It's awesome that you guys can be ROI positive on the first purchase. Like that means you're not bidding enough, right? It means you're not spending enough money.
Exactly.
Like you should be able to go acquire 3x the number of customers, right? Like, so I presume you're just cycling your capital as quickly as you can through advertising.
But at the same time, we need to grow our business as well, right? Because we have customer service, of course, and also the marketing department needs to grow. And if you grow at our rate, at some point you need to make sure that this whole thing doesn't explode. So we're kind of, making it in a structured way, but still, like
that makes sense. And so, as an advertising-driven growth business for selling things, what do you do to make sure that, so in the long run, what winds up happening to those businesses is Facebook and Google eat all of your margin. Like, not necessarily. If you have a differentiated enough product, it could still work. But at the end of the day, they're trying to run an auction whose goal it is to suck all of the profit margin out of your business. The people who successfully compete against that build their own brand. How are you building a brand that will resist that force over time?
So basically what we're building in terms of a brand is a very honest company. This is what people are craving right now. Everybody hates this big corporation. They hate Apple, they hate Amazon, but we're building this honest company. For example, we also plant a tree for every product we sell. We're this cool young guys who want to make the world a better place eventually.
How do I get social credit with my friends for having bought a Reverb phone?
So we do, for example, we also sell cases for our phones with the Reverb branding, and people should actually like to use that. And also we're building up a referral program right now, so that we make it easier for our customers.
What percentage of customers do you think buys one of those cases with the Reverb branding?
So we're only starting that, so it's super low. But what is really surprising for me, especially compared to 2 years ago when I didn't know those products, is that people are really proud that they actually made the right choice in terms of price and also sustainability. And this makes people really happy, especially in a few target groups. And this is where the word of mouth really kicks in, and where we see a lot of people coming in and buying products and say, hey, somebody told me these products are great, and this is why I buy it.
That makes a lot of sense. What are you doing to? It seems like that's an area that requires more investment over time. Like, is there a big idea around this that in terms of creating more of a lifestyle around green products? Are there other things that line up with this that your customers buy?
Yeah. So eventually, what we do as a brand is we build something that is trusted and green and environmentally friendly. And with that, you can do a lot, right? The first step is electronics, because this is where we had our expertise in the beginning. But you can roll that out to many different product groups, and also, as you said, as a lifestyle brand itself.
It's probably a little too early for this, but do you see any indications of whether people want to rebuy or not? Yeah, we actually, although we're only 1 year old, we already saw, for example, in the cohort of last year in May, 25% of the people already bought again another product. In electronics, that's quite high because you usually only buy like 1 or 0.5 products a year. So we're actually quite happy with that. No, that's very good. How do you, when someone buys a product from you, you get their email address? Like, how do you stay in touch with people?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the classic email newsletter, but we, again, twist it in a way that we actually make it very valuable to the people. As I said in the beginning, we plant a tree for every product we sell. And then what we do is we actually have a very big and very successful email campaign where we teach people, hey, what is happening to this tree? Where is he? How will it develop? And also, how is he helping the local communities where we built those trees? So we're taking actually a tree and building an emotional relationship to the brand with that.
What does the branding look like for you guys? Like, is it?
It's very much focused on the sustainability angle, because people, for them it's clear, it's used, it's cheaper. We also have a very professional branding in the sense that the quality is also transferred as well. And what we use in communication is very much on sustainability and the lifestyle of the products.
Yeah, I'd be, your logo, seeing it on the screen, looks a little bit like the recycling logo, but which is good. But it doesn't really say green to me. Like, when I see that, I don't think like, oh, this is environmentally friendly. I think like electronics company.
Yeah, but this is a difficult twist between electronics and green. And we actually, originally we had a green logo, but then we realized every company who does something with green has a green logo. And we don't want to be one other company. We want to be special, and also the colors of our logo are very different than most brands.
So what's your biggest challenge today? Drive growth.
Growing the business in terms of demand, and also increasing the team to get really good people on the team is, I guess, the biggest challenge for every company.
So are you a local? You're local to Vienna?
Yeah, we basically are based in Vienna, but we have guys from Germany. We have guys from Russia,
remote
Poland. No, we're all in Vienna right now.
Okay.
But as we grow, we might also have a remote team. Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult. We're based in San Francisco, and we struggle to find sufficient numbers of people, even though it's probably the center of the most talented in tech in the world. There's still never enough. And we started, this is a thought, we started hiring a lot of remote employees as a result. Yeah.
Every entrepreneur you talk to is always, finding the right people is the biggest challenge, and we found a good system so far to actually hire really good people.
And what's the biggest business challenge? Acquiring customers, or what's the?
Yeah, eventually, we are such a focused company. All we do is acquire customers, or 90% of the time.
So what's standing in the way is purely capital? There's nothing else? Like, there are any other things that need to be worked on to keep growing?
Yeah, it's eventually, again, it's hiring and, of course, the capital to increase our spend on marketing. And, of course, the expertise to build a brand and stuff like that. But that comes with money, I guess, as well.
So what's the cost to acquire a customer?
12 euros.
12 euros. And that's like fully converted to like a,
that's a purchase.
To a purchase.
Yeah.
And the margin on that's like
15 euros.
50 euros. So that's great. And what's the timeline between like when you spend the money to when?
It's very short. We have like 80% of our purchases are on the first day of contact.
So like it seems like you should just like take out a credit card and like spend 10,000 euro, and then take the money out from that, pay off the credit card, and then spend that money again. Like you should have a extremely rapid exponential growth until you cap out that acquisition channel.
That's what we did so far, right?
Yeah.
As I said, we grew by 100 times over 1 year.
Yeah.
That's.
But like 1,500 purchases implies you could buy that for like 15K.
Yeah.
Like that's just not that much money from a if you have a company with employees. Why not just fire one employee and take all their salary and just dump it on the equipment? I'm being facetious, but like why not just spend a lot more money right now if that's the limiting factor?
But that's what we do every month. Like we increase the marketing budget every month.
Why not increase it much faster?
Because we also need to have the products in stock, right? I mean, I said the buy side.
There actually is a balancing problem where,
of course,
sufficient supply versus demand.
We need to onboard a new seller. That guy has new products. We need to onboard those products.
I see.
And then we need to make sure that we go to traffic, because there always needs to be a balance. We can't just onboard 100 sellers. Then they all say, hey, what the fuck, I don't make any sales.
Yeah.
So it needs to go step by step.
Is there some way? It sounds like actually demand is very predictable in the sense that you have a money engine. You can just you put money in, turn the crank,
exactly.
Demand shows up. So in some ways, your biggest challenge is actually acquiring suppliers on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, so basically right now we have a few more technical issues because we need to integrate them with the warehousing systems. But as soon as those things are covered, then it will be easier to actually get more supply as well.
That's fascinating. All right, well, that's really cool. That sounds like a much better way to buy a phone, especially for everyone who is environmentally conscious about it. Because I buy a new phone fairly often, and I do feel a little bad about the fact that I feel like I'm being wasteful. But I'd feel a lot better about it if I thought I could sell the old one and someone else would start using it.
Send me your phones.
Yeah. All right. Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Emmett, we have 2 minutes left. Can I ask you a few questions that people approached me and asked me all the time? So if I have a startup and if I want to be selected for YC, what do I need to do?
The most important thing is to do one of two things. Either be growing really fast or have a really compelling pitch why your team will build something that will grow really fast. And I know that sounds like overly reductionist, but it's actually, that is the only. I've been in the room many times with YC. I'm not in the room always because I'm pretty busy, but where we're deciding, should we let this startup in? And the only real question is, how afraid are we that if we don't invest in this company, it's going to grow really fast and then be super successul, and we're going to be sad we didn't invest.
So it's like fear of missing out. That
yeah, it's basically, we're like, how much FOMO do we have about this startup?
But like, I mean, when it comes to specific special, like there's a difference in that I see often how European founders present and how American founders present. Let's say from an American point of view, American founders tend to present more confident. European founders often tend to be more humble. Is that like taking away some of the magic that would require for you to feel this FOMO? Should they be like more aggressive when they pitch?
I do think that there's this underlying thing, which is that more interesting ideas get funded more reliably. So like I remember when I think they're called Boom. They're making supersonic airplanes, and the pitch was, we're going to go build new supersonic jets, and you kind of can't say no to that as YC, right? Like, it's just too crazy. Like, what if it works? We'd feel real dumb if we passed up on that. Whereas it's like actually relatively easy to say no to the 19th subscription box service that looks like all the other subscription box services, unless, of course, it already has a lot of traction. Growth cures everything.
Growth is the killer argument.
Yeah, growth is the killer argument. We are growing really fast is like a very strong argument, although not a universal one. It's possible to be growing really fast and still not seem like you're an attractive business. But generally speaking, growth is a great argument, whereas if you don't have growth, you have to have some pitch for an idea of like, this is exciting, this is interesting, it's different. Yeah.
All right, great. So now we're out of time. Are you available if people approach you?
Yeah, I'm happy
Pioneers?
to. Yeah, happy
going to be like backstage or the cafeteria? All right, okay, guys. So you can approach Emmett, have questions for him. Have some private office hours, maybe, I don't know, or a few drinks. So from that point of view, Emmett, thank you very much. It was a great pleasure. Give it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.